bumped a little bit. We've got to get into these routes and get spacing, and then obviously if the quarterback gets hit, bad things happen, right? Turnovers happen, or they get hurt eventually. Kind of what I've always said with quarterback gets hit. So um, I thought he had some really good decisions. I thought he was accurate at times, and then I thought there was some misses. That's how it goes. I thought we protected for the most part fairly well. It was never perfect, never will be, but I thought there were some clean pockets and against a few really good pass rushers.
That is Mike Vrabel talking about the Patriots offense and how they handled the Las Vegas Raiders in the week 1 loss from Foxborough. And of course, this is like turn the page. Players had the day off yesterday, but here we go. The coaches say this is what we're implementing for this week. This is what we're going to be dealing with when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. Now you know what it looks like. Let's get set. Let's go practice it and let's go execute it come Sunday. Welcome in Foxborough Rush with you this afternoon. Annabelle Hasselbeck, Jade McCarthy here. Look, I mean, Vrabel's 100% right, AB, when he's like, it's never going to be perfect. And he also talked about how Drake Maye at times tries to be perfect. And the funny thing is like we see him execute real perfectly the very hard throw for the touchdown, but then some of the easier throws he really struggles to make. And so it's precise that I feel like the Patriots coaching staff are really going to be stressing, to the quarterback and to the offense this week. Like, let's be precise in our execution, recognizing that perfect is out the window. Like, that's never something that we're going to be.
Yeah, it never is, and so it's good that he's able to kind of set that standard and that expectation. And listen, like you got two young guys on the left side, and there's going to be growing pains there as well. It's week 1, but there's also some pass protection problems in the moment at the end of the game on the right side, right? So I think for the most part, yes, the O line looked great. In the whole body of work, right? It stinks that it comes down to some of those key moments at the end of the game. But he's right. He said, what did he say? Like, you never want the quarterback gets hit. It's a bad thing, right? And so I think looking on to week 2, it's something that they're definitely going to have a focus toward.
Yeah, and that's the reality. I mean, Drake Maye would probably be the first one to tell you, yeah, I would rather not be on my backside as much as I was a season ago. And we have said this from the very beginning, right? Like, this is going to be a work in progress. This is a young line. This is a young quarterback. You certainly have Ramondre, who's a veteran in this league, but you also have young running backs, young receivers who are going to be part of this as well. Another, wide receiver 1 in Steph Diggs, who's working his way back from an injury. And the Patriots, I think, had to feel out exactly where he was and what this was going to look like, week 1 of the opener against the Raiders. So this is a process, and this is going to take time, and progress is going to take time. Now that said, it is definitely turn the page day, right? And I think that's where I started. Because the reality is the NFL moves fast, right? I mean, a loss is a loss. You got to learn from it. You got to find a way to look in the mirror, say, this is what I need to do better. And then you need to focus on the task at hand, which of course is a Miami Dolphins team that would really like to forget the way they played against the Indianapolis Colts as well. I want to focus on, perhaps one bright spot for the Patriots against the Raiders in the receiving game, of course. We saw Kayshon Boutte, over 100 yards in this game. Obviously, you could see the connection between him and Drake Maye. He spoke a little bit about that on Monday. Let's take a listen.
I think the connection was good. It always can be better, but it goes back to practice. Practicing Wednesday full padded day, getting full speed looks, then coming in Thursday and just getting it back together. So we got 2-3 opportunities to work on that and be better for week 2.
What's the pulse of this locker room right now heading into next week?
Tough loss. Obviously, I think everybody feel the same way, but just got to be better next week. I think we all know what we need to do, so it's just a matter of getting it done.
He's 100% right. You know, it's like you got to look in the mirror. I think it was Jalen Hawkins who basically was like, look in the mirror, clean it up, flush it away. Right? Like you got to find a way to move forward quickly. You have to have that closer mentality. You know, in baseball, to be able to move forward and make the progress that you need to, make the differences that you need to, and be able to execute. But look, AB, I do think that when you hear him talk about the connection between him and Drake May, that is a building block, and that is certainly what the quarterback needs, and it's arguably what this offense is going to need. They're going to have to start to have some building blocks that they can stack on top of one another to have this thing move in a positive direction.
Jade, when I was watching all those post game pressers and even on Monday, it seemed like every single player had said the word flush. And so I was thinking to myself, man, I bet you Vrabel no doubt said the word, flush it, like learn from it and flush it, because they all said the same terminology of flush. And I know that's like a common thing post loss, but I'm like, everyone's saying flush. So I'm right there with you on that. But yeah, I mean, for Booty, like this is the guy who stepped up for this offense. He was the spark. We were wondering, okay, if it's not Diggs, who's it going to be? Right. And he's the guy that clearly showed that he can be a go to player for Drake May. He also has this toughness to him. Every time he caught the ball, it seemed like he got swarmed by so many players that got hit hard. It's, bad weather. And I think that really shows the type of player that Vrabel wants here. But yeah, he definitely stepped up as one of those go to guys. And I think what's exciting about it is that he wasn't that name that you probably were guessing it was going to be. People probably would expect, okay, if not Diggs, maybe Pop or Matt Collins. We'll see what he can bring, right? And Kyle Williams didn't get in there too much. So I think it's exciting because now the Dolphins, if they're going to start preparing for Booty, other people in that wide receiver room are going to get a better chance.
Yeah, and Kayshawn also talked about the fact, hey, look, way back when, pre LSU, he was the number three wide receiver recruit in the country, and then he had a standout time at the beginning of his career at LSU, and then he got injured, had to have multiple surgeries, and didn't get back to that same level. But I think in his mind, this is who he's always been. He's always had the ability to go out there and be a guy who can rack up over 100 receiving yards a game and can be someone that his quarterback is going to rely upon. So for him to have that mentality, I think is significant, right? Because it starts with how you see yourself. You have to have that confidence in your own belief, to go out there and have people believe in you and rely on you, which is so much of what we're going to see need to develop, with this offense overall. Is Drake May needs people that he can rely on. And we certainly saw it, with Hunter Henry. We know there's comfort there. We saw that start to develop last year. We saw a little bit of it with Booty last year, right? I mean, if you go back to last season, he finished with over 100 receiving yards as well. But you look at the consistency with which the Patriots have had that in a receiver. They haven't. I mean, I was looking at this today, and there's only a handful of guys, Booty, Edelman, Welker, and Gronk, who have had consecutive 100-plus receiving yard games since 2010, AB. I mean, that is not a long list. You're talking about one hand, right? Not even. It's four fingers. So that consistent offense production, it has to develop at some point. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I think that we're going to want to continue to see that out of Booty. We're going to want to see other receivers step up, as you said. Who is it going to be? And we're going to want to continue to see the development of this offensive line. Morgan Moses talked about the importance of, establishing a run game. We all talked about the fact that they had 60 on the ground against the Raiders. They know that that's something they need to address as well. Here's the offensive tackle.
You want to run the ball a little bit more, be more balanced. I think the biggest thing is just playing complementary football. When our defense gets stops like that and we get the ball on a short field, being able to convert, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, just to get points on the board. Even with the kickoff return that Antonio Gibson had, you get the ball on the 40-yard line, you got to get points on the board. So, but I think the identity, I think when you look at the film is that, the identity that we want to play with is there. We played all the way to the end, but obviously, you want to leave with a win. So, we got to look ourselves in the mirror and obviously correct some things and do the things that we did really good, make those things better, and the things that we didn't do so well, make those better as well.
Sort of same kind of sentiment, right? Coming from Moses in terms of what they need to do. And I think that emphasis on complementary football is important, AB. We saw this across the league, right? Like defenses just getting wiped out when their offense isn't able to go out there and, execute a drive. And instead it's, punt, punt, punt. At some point, like that starts to add up on a defense, because especially week one, when you're feeling out exactly where you are in terms of endurance, and then you're out there repeatedly, at some point you're going to be gassed.
Yeah, well, you think they're gonna run the ball, Jade? I don't know. Like, you think they're gonna do it because they're all saying it, right? Like, I mean, from players to coaches, like it's everywhere in this facility, and they know it. But not only does it the complementary football, right? Not only does it help your defense, but it also helps your offensive lineman. Like, you have an offensive lineman
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah, we want to run the ball. We want to be more balanced." It's helping him do his job, but also protect Drake May, and that's what we were talking about at the top of the show, right? Like, you can't give up a sack if you're running the ball, okay? And so I think it's just very clear that the focus this week in that building has been, we're going to run the ball. We're going to have more of a balanced offense and really help our quarterback do his job.
Yeah, we saw Drake May, put it up a career high number of times against the Raiders. Obviously, late in the game, they were down, and that puts you in a, position where you're trying to pass the ball to get back in the game. I think the Patriots would certainly like to avoid that going down into Miami, which we all know, like the numbers of the Patriots wins in Miami. They're more than one-handed, but look, they're not great. They're 13-25 at Hard Rock Stadium, where the Dolphins now play. And Miami has won 4 straight against New England. It was 2019 when the Patriots last won down there, and we all know, what was happening in 2019 and who was the quarterback of the Patriots. So this is historically a difficult place for the Patriots to play. But look, the reality there also is the fact that nobody knows that more than Mike Vrabel. I mean, he was on a lot of these teams that struggled to win down in Miami and knew how hard it was to play. So I think that there's some benefit there that, one, it's history and it is not, indicative of this team this season. But two, there's a guy who knows a lot of that history, who can use that to fire his players up to go out there and have a consistent, effective, precise performance against a Dolphins team that really struggled in the opener last week.
Jade, you said earlier that they'd want to forget about that game. I don't think you can. Like, I really don't think the Dolphins fan base will ever recover from that game. And I mean, it was just utterly embarrassing for them, right? I forget exactly what one of the quotes was for them, but people are just losing their minds. And I think for this game against the Patriots, when you look at those numbers and you look at the historic losses, you're like, it's daunting. Like, the stats are real on that. But I think your point to just the new regime, you see who Vrabel has already let go from this organization. Like, there is a fresh start, it feels like. And I think Morgan Moses even said it at his locker later in that interview. He's like, listen, that was the first time that all 11 of us had played together. Like, I think for some teams in the NFL, week one, they're coming off of a training camp, off of a season where they know each other. This is a really new team, and especially this new offensive line. And so I think that is something that we probably need to hold with a higher point of regard.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like being in game situation as a team, and I think this is also just part of the reality of the league as a whole at this point in time. When they expanded the regular games to 17 and they cut back the preseason games to 3, you have a lot of people who don't even play in the preseason at this point in time. And we've certainly seen teams make changes, like the Cincinnati Bengals made an effort, obviously, because they didn't want to start the season losing again. So their starters went out and did play during the preseason, and there was an emphasis on that. But there's plenty of guys who never even take a snap in the preseason. So there is this sort of transition, if you will, to where those first, 1, 2, maybe 3 games in September, you're still in this notion of, let's feel this out. Let's see who we are. Let's understand what we have here. And then we'll start to look to build. Like, this is still the foundation setting. And that's tough, with a young team, obviously, to figure out exactly what you have and who you want to be. And I think that's part of where this Patriots team is at this point in time. All right, we got to get a quick break in here on Foxborough Rush, but we mentioned some of those Miami numbers. We'll dig a little deeper on those as we continue right here. We'll make some predictions still ahead as well. Stick around, much more to come right here. Welcome back into Foxborough Rush. Mike Vrabel has been at the podium in Foxborough, and we're monitoring sort of ongoing developments coming out of his press conference. The first one having to do with the Patriots defensive coordinator. This is how he began his press conference, talking about the fact that their DC, Terrell Williams, is going to be absent for a couple days due to health. This, according to, you can see Carlos Lopez, he did have a health scare in the spring, missed some time then, and this is unrelated, but he did say that he felt like the best thing was for him to focus on getting some results of some tests that have to be done and figure out what the next step is. And with that being the focus, they thought he should step away from the team to do that. And the team obviously is focused on Miami and, trying to make it a 500 record to start the season and not, sit in this 0-2 hole. Look, obviously, AB, it's significant when any of your coordinators have to be absent from the team. There's no question about that. But that said, they'll find ways to make up for this. We all know that, Vrabel has plenty of defensive chops that he can fall back on as well. And I imagine that he'll be paying some extra attention to that side of the ball. He often pays attention to everything as well, which we certainly saw throughout the course of camp.
Jade, I think that's the one positive to take from this. Obviously, you hope coach is okay, and that's the number one priority. And I remember even back to camp when he had to miss some time, people were trying to get all the details, and it's like he's not a player, right? And so I think when players get injured or players get hurt, you expect immediately 10 seconds later to know exactly what's going on. And there just hasn't been that clarity because he is a coach. But you hope the best for him. And I think you see the leadership too from Vrabel of clearly giving him that time away from the team to focus on his health. But I think you're right. Like, you can take confidence in Vrabel as a defensive guy. There's also been times, like you said, where Terrell Williams had to step away from the team due to health issues, and the Patriots have had to learn who's going to step up, what coaches need to fill what roles now. So they've already kind of been through this drill, which I think will give them confidence in a situation that if this happened to some other NFL teams out of nowhere, it probably would cause some chaos.
Yeah. And I think, the other point that I was making is the fact that Vrabel has his hand in everything. And he's hands-on. We've obviously seen him out there in drills, all of the above, throughout the last couple months. So this is one of those things that if you have to step in a situation like this, that's unforeseen, and to your very point, our best to Terrell Williams, and we certainly hope the best for him and whatever it is that he's dealing with, you're at least in a situation where you have a coach who knows that he's not just putting everybody in places where they can succeed. He's also having a hand in finding that success in each one of those places. The other big question defensively, of course, for the Patriots has been, when are we going to see Gonzo out there? And Vrabel addressed that today, saying, I don't think we're going to see him on the practice field. So yeah, the wait continues, as Michael Rodnick put it here. And look, I mean, this is just something that we're not going to know until we know. It's a hamstring injury. You know, you have to be just so cautious with hamstring injuries. That's the reality of it. Soft tissue injuries can be nagging. If you go back too soon, you tweak it once, and all of a sudden, you know, you're George Kittle and you're on the IR. So it's just one of those things that they're probably watching this very carefully. But I think we said this, AB, as much as you want him out there, you also don't want him out there to the point where then he's out again because he tweaks it, because it wasn't fully ready to go.
Well, the Patriots probably thought too that he would be ready to go. They probably were thinking, looking at the Raiders wide receiver room, hey, can we save Gonzo for Tariq Hill, right? And that fast wide receiver room with the Dolphins. And now here we are. I think some people this morning felt a little bit of hope because they saw Patriots had waived DJ James. Oh, does that create some movement? Are they trying to tell us something? Gonzo goes on his Instagram story and tosses up a photo of himself playing. He's got a song to it that's like, get back. Like there's a lot of subliminal messages. So really interested to see how it does shake out this weekend, and where he'll fall for the Patriots.
Yeah, it's something obviously we'll continue to keep tabs on throughout the rest of the week. If he's not out there today, does he get back out there tomorrow? This, of course, is the full padded practice, and you know things sort of start to trickle down. Obviously, en route to Sunday's 1:00 kickoff against the Dolphins. Let's turn our eyes to the Dolphins a little bit. Gosh, it was just an ugly game in Indy for them. And I know you said, AB, like that is one that you don't even know if you can forget. But it was just it was flat out ugly. I mean, you looked at Tua out there. He finished 14 of 23, 114 passing yards, a tutty, 2 interceptions, a lost fumble. I don't even know if those numbers are indicative of how bad they looked, quite honestly. I don't know. I mean, and one of the Colts players who you know used to be on Miami was like, you know, with Tua, like you take away that first look and then all of a sudden he's frantic. Man, that is rough. Like when your former teammate is basically saying that you take away one look and all of a sudden you're kind of a deer in headlights out there. That's rough. But I don't think there was much positive for Miami to pull out of that game against the Colts.
No, there are bad vibes coming out of Miami in all ways. Like there really are. And it's representative of what we saw on the field. And I think when you look at the losses, right? The Patriots and the Dolphins are both coming into week 2 0-1. But how the Patriots lost and how the Dolphins lost is very different, right? I think the Patriots saw glimpses of where they need to improve on and what was great and some bright spots and where they weren't who they are, who they know they are. The Dolphins, you watch that game, you're like, who are you? Like, what's going on? They kind of got this cool cat vibe to them. They're flashy, they probably had the best rivalry weekend jerseys at anybody. Like, they look really good. But like being fly and fast and like kind of cool, it doesn't work in the NFL. It's the teams that are hard nosed, can take care of the football, have a strong, like, presence in the trenches, and that's just not what this team is. So yeah, I think the Dolphins should be extremely concerned. It's week 1, so you don't want to overreact, but just like you said, players and how they're talking about the locker room, how they're talking about their coach, when they're there and then when they leave, it's very interesting. And even just what we talked about, earlier this week of, Hill kind of crashing out on the sideline. All your players are looking to you. Like all your players are seeing, how do the leaders on our team respond to adversity, right? That's what you're going to do, whether you've been there for years or you just got there the 2 days before, right? And clearly their response to adversity is not one that's going to work.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was nothing cool, calm, or collected about it. It was ugly on the field. It seemed ugly on the sidelines, quite honestly. Mike McDaniel tried to take ownership of what went down for the Miami Dolphins in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think in the National Football League, when you're -3 plus turnover on downs, you run into the kicker, you across the board, that's not a formula. And so that formula is for failure and nothing else. And I think You know, there there was a lot of preparation for week one, and I don't think it looked it. What does that mean? That means that guys let week one and the bells and whistles of the season starting get the best of them. My job is to prevent that. You know, I did my best, not good enough. So you have 2 games in 11 days, and that's what you do with it. The National Football League teaches tough lessons. I think we're a much better team than we played today, or than we displayed today, but that doesn't matter either. You have to play good football. So when you play bad football, you have 20 minutes less of time of possession. You don't take the ball away. You don't put them in the offense in negative situations. You don't take care of the ball. It's a young team having to learn some very hard lessons, and that's what the league's about. It's all about the ebbs and flows. You can't overcook a success, and you can't overcook a failure. You have to continue to learn from things and look at the tape, and it will be a very, very critical day tomorrow to be accountable so that we can, with absolute certainty, learn from it. Otherwise, you just sit in this, and I don't think that's an option. So we got 2 games in 11 days, no time to sulk. But yes, it was not the way I think our team wanted things to go for sure, and they got some strong humility today.
Yeah, no time to sulk is right. I mean, that just doesn't exist. If you do that, you'll just get run over in the National Football League. And you talk about that time of possession that we heard McDaniel mention there. The Colts had 20 more minutes with the football. Well, when they score on every single possession of the game, 7 straight possessions. I mean, they're the only team to do that since at least 91 when that stat started being recorded. So, and by the way, this is Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts we're talking about. And I'm not taking any credit away from him or from, Shane Steichen there, but still, this is not some explosive NFL offense that we have seen, exist in this way repeatedly. No, I mean, this was the guy who won the starting job, but he had to win it against Anthony Richardson. He wasn't even the shoe-in to be the starter in Indianapolis. So
Yeah, I
just that alone, AB, you're like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you know they just did not bring it. I mean, just so simple as that. There's a team that shows up to play, and there's a team, like he said, I wrote down, the guys let the bells and whistles of the season start and get in the way. Do you think the Patriots are worried about, oh, how cool? Will Campbell was talking about it. Was I excited about my first NFL, regular season? No, we lost. You think I was this is so cool, taking it all in? The Patriots are a team that does not get distracted, I think, by the bells and whistles of the so cool. Look at we're the Patriots. We're in week 1. They're no, we are coming off the heels of a dynasty that this fan base and all the people in New England are used to in this organization wants to win, and they want to win now, right? And then you look at the Dolphins, and you have your head coach up there basically saying, I let my team get distracted, and taking accountability for that. I mean, flat. Just against the Colts too, right? Out of all the teams in the NFL. So I think that's what's concerning is yes, we can get to the X's and O's and the intensity that they played at. But really, where's the focus? And getting distracted in week 1 with the bells and whistles just is shocking to me that he'd say that. I think even later in the press conference, he had said, the positive is how could it get worse? I'm like, if that's what you're calling out as the positive, I'm like, that's a negative. That's a negative positive. How does it? I don't really like that one.
Well, it could get worse if they are handed a loss by New England this weekend. I mean, it can get worse pretty quick in the National Football League. Tua spoke as well, and he, like his head coach, took some ownership for the product that Miami put out there on the field.
Well, you never want to look at it as, well, this is just week one. We're going to take our loss like that. That's never how we want to look at it. And the way we lost, that's just, nobody pays. None of the fans pay, to watch the Miami Dolphins go put up 8 points and drop, and watch the other team drop 30 on them. That's just not what they do. So there's a lot of things we need to look at. We need to look in the mirror. We need to continue to hold each other accountable for what it is. And, I would definitely say it starts with me. And I think as a team, collectively, this was something we were trying to avoid. But could this be good for us? I don't know. We'll see how we respond next week.
He's right in the sense, let's see how we respond. And the reality is every team has to ask themselves that coming off of a loss, and in often cases they have to ask themselves coming off of a win too. How are we going to respond? Because you can't, you're never as good as you are when you win, and you're never as bad as you are when you lose. I mean, I think that's what I've heard so many coaches across this league say time and again. You look at Tua's record against New England, AB, he's 7-0. He has never lost to the New England Patriots as the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. So if you want a little bulletin board material in Foxborough, you could certainly put that up there. Let's hand the Tua Tagovailoa Miami Dolphins their first loss in his career there in Miami. 17-5. At home record for Tua, 18-7 at home under Mike McDaniel. So this is one of those things that they have some of those numbers on their side, but the reality is they've got to internally look and see who are we and what are we going to put out there. Come kickoff 1:00 Sunday afternoon, because Tua is absolutely right. There's not a Dolphins fan that wants to go out there and watch them put on anything remotely resembling what they did against the Colts.
There might not be a Dolphins fan if that happens again. Like, they might not exist, Jade. I mean, if I was them, I'd be freaking out. But yeah, I think the numbers can, in like the history, can give you confidence to a certain extent. But we saw what the Colts did. They broke that, week one losing streak record. Then they got the record for scoring on every single possession. Like, these numbers can come and go whenever. And so I think that's the big thing, is if the Dolphins don't get too high on themselves and can rely on their history and what they've done in the past, like, past success does not guarantee future success. I think the other worrisome thing is that you have a banged up O-line right now, and you already were struggling to protect Tua. He's not a mobile quarterback, so that doesn't help. And like, you didn't really see that many great things from the game, so you don't really know what worked week one. Like, yeah, some of your run game was there, right? You had some good defensive plays, some great special teams runs, but you don't really know exactly what you want to do more of. So really a huge week one loss for the Dolphins.
Yeah. First time they've opened a season with a loss under Mike McDaniel. And this is the first time that both New England and Miami opened the season 0-1 since 2003. So look, it's the early going of the season. We'll see how both of these teams respond and, how they find the ability to lose and learn, and who's able to do that better, and play a more effective and efficient game come Sunday afternoon in South Florida. All right, let's take a quick break here. Much more to come. There are, of course, some former Patriots who have found homes across the National Football League. We all expected that would be the case, at some point in time, and we didn't think it would take all that long, and it didn't. We will get to that. Plus, we'll look ahead to some of the other games coming our way, including that Thursday night one. That is a good Thursday night game, AB. I'm looking forward to that one. We'll talk predictions on the other side. Stick around. Welcome back into Foxborough Rush. Look, the reality is the NFL works really hard when they build out their schedule, and they do it well, and we all get to reap the benefits of it, AB, because week 2 kicks off Thursday night with, I mean, you could say it could be an NFC Championship preview, perhaps. If some things went both of those teams' ways. There's some other teams out there that would have something to say about that. But look, the reality is the Green Bay Packers started with a bang against the Detroit Lions, and the Washington Commanders did the same against the New York Giants. So this is a terrific matchup between the Commanders and the Packers at Lambeau Field Thursday night. I would say this before we go in and make our picks. Debo, like, if you want to talk about who benefited from the hold-in and Terry McLaurin not being out there during the preseason, watching that game against the Giants, Debo Samuel benefited from that because we certainly saw him out there doing some Debo-like things, and obviously Cliff Kingsbury is not afraid to draw it up and be creative and find some ways to build him into this offense. But that just gives, Jade McDaniels another weapon with which to use as he and McLaurin work to get back on the same page, which, this was really the very beginning of them being able to do that last weekend.
Hey, listen, in the preseason and over the summer, everyone was worried, oh, will the Commanders be, who they were because of the Terry McLaurin situation? And that has been put to rest. There is no need to worry about that wide receiver room anymore.
Yeah, nope, no concern about what that wide receiver room is going to look like. We obviously saw them move running backs, out to San Francisco with that trade as well, because they felt like they had the pieces that they needed. I think one of the notable things from this matchup as well is, Dan Quinn, who was obviously the defensive coordinator down there in Dallas. He was there for the first 3 seasons that Micah Parsons was with the Cowboys, and of course, we all know Micah is now with the Green Bay Packers. Got his payday, got his new team, got out there, asked to get some more work in there in their opener against the Lions, had an impact in that game. And obviously, I think we'll look to do the same against his former DC, who's now the head coach there. And DQ was like, look, he brings out the mad scientist in you. I think that will favor the Commanders a little bit in that DQ knows all that Micah Parsons can do, and he'll, I think, have a pretty good read on trying to address that, and some little snippets that he can give to his OC and Kingsbury. And Parsons is like, look, he's a father figure. He's like an uncle to me. So I think it'll be fun to see them, once the game is over, find that moment with one another, just to have that mutual respect and share it. As for the game itself, I think this is going to be a great one. Who do you like in this one?
I love that storyline too that you just said with that connection and their relationship. I think it's great because of how dicey the whole Micah Parsons situation went down, and just how, that was just hard on him too, right? So it's cool for him to be able to have people like that just to be able to lean on. But I think I got to go Packers for this. It's at Lambeau, starting the season with 2 home games, Thursday night football. You're both coming in 1-0, and it's a whiteout at Lambeau. The players are going to be wearing their all white jerseys. The fans are getting encouraged to do it. I heard that the Commanders had Go Pack Go being blasted at practice. Like, they're getting ready for this environment. Jordan Love looked great coming off a good game. I think he said after the last game that they still left a little on the table. So look for them to come out strong. And the Packers took down a really good Lions team. This is one of the best offenses in the league last year. And you have Micah Parsons. Like, that kind of helps. So Jeff Hafley's defense is looking really good. I think he said it was like one of the most proudest moments that he's had coaching, which is a lot for your DC to say. So I think people are feeling really good in that facility, and I got to go with the Packers on this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup too, in the sense that Washington, I believe, is the oldest roster in the National Football League, and Green Bay is well known to have the youngest roster in the National Football League. So just another one of those interesting nuggets to kind of keep tabs on. This is like a pick'em to me. I I really don't have a feel one way or another how this will go. So I guess just to be the contrarian, I'll take the Commanders to go in and hand the Packers a loss in this one. I do think that, Jaden Daniels is he's so cool, calm, and collected, that I think if this is a close one late, there's a chance he can just sort of do his thing and find his way, to lead the Commanders to a win. But as I said, this is a pick 'em to me. Obviously, the Packers are favored in this one since it's a home game for them. But to be the contrarian, I'll go Commanders with you here. All right, the New York Giants, who of course lost to the Commanders, they go down to Dallas and take on Micah Parsons' former team. This is a 1:00 kick between two 0-1 teams who are trying to find their way, to their first victory of the season. Much has been made, of course, about the Giants and their quarterback situation. It will be Russ Wilson getting the start. Brian Daboll said that the other day. All the talk as to when they'll move to Jackson Dart, when they'll move. I feel like it's probably more of a when than an if, AB. And then what Brian Schottenheimer is going to do with this Dallas team, who obviously didn't find a way to win as well. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? The Giants are already talking about, and there's already buzz about, will Russell be the starter or not? Like they're still trying to figure that out. So I gotta go. How about them Cowboys? Why not? They looked really good against the Eagles, better than people probably expected. Their offense was on fire. They're getting downfield. Dak was making plays left and right. He even had like that defensive tackle around the ankles to kind of stop what could have been a really bad play. And I think, yeah, the Giants are still figuring out who they are. They really struggled against the Commanders. And I think when you have that indecision, obviously, I think they know that they're going to stick with Russ for this, but this is an organization that needs to win, and they need to see themselves have a good quarterback. So I think I got to go with the Cowboys on this one.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, the Giants obviously are struggling at offensive line in front of the quarterback, so that doesn't make anything any easier. Whether it's Russell Wilson out there, or certainly to put a rookie out there and have him start his career with an offensive line that is more like paper than like stone right now is not something that's advised to do. I agree with you. I think Dallas will find a way to win this one. They certainly had some bright spots against the Eagles in the league-wide opener in week 1. All right, speaking of the Eagles, they do know that they'll have Jalen Carter out there in the Super Bowl rematch against the Kansas City Chiefs. The league coming out and saying that he has served his 1-game suspension for spitting in the face of Dak Prescott because he didn't play a single snap in that game. It was a very quick year out, and he was suspended for that game. That's what the league's calling it. So they're obviously trying to set a little bit of precedent with that as well. He loses his game check as a fine for that incident as well. Philadelphia is a 1.5 point favorite at Arrowhead to take on Kansas City in this game, AB. If you're the Chiefs, man, I know you're 0-1. I get where that line comes from, and I get that they totally dismantled you in the Super Bowl. But man, you are not happy that you're not a favorite at home at Arrowhead Stadium, which we all know is one of the toughest places to play in this league.
They also probably are surprised and thought they were going to get out of not having to play Jalen Carter. They were probably like, shoot, like we were like, let's go there for a second, right? Like if I'm the Chiefs, I'm was hedging my bets on that too, because the NFL has really stressed sportsmanship. And so to see them not really take that as a full game, like, yes, he didn't play a snap, but like you're in the game. Like you were 10 seconds from playing a snap. So I was a little shocked, truthfully, that he did not get suspended. That's up to the NFL with how to handle that. But yeah, if you're the Chiefs, you're like, man, we were so close. We were so close. But I think for this one, Super Bowl rematch, I mean, so exciting. I think I got to go with the Eagles. They looked incredible in week 1. Jalen Hurts was amazing. And you didn't really see a lot of A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. And you know that they're going to get touches. You know that they're going to look for them. And Saquon's over here squatting like 600 pounds, 2 reps. I saw that video last week. I'm like, what? This dude, like, He's a beast. Like, there's no other way to put it. I mean, I
Yeah.
gotta go with the Eagles on this one, but yeah, I think the Chiefs for a second there thought they'd have an edge, but definitely didn't after that.
Yeah, no, I'll take the Eagles in this one as well. I think to your point, right? Like we've barely even scratched the surface of what they can do offensively. Howie Roseman's still out there making deals, right? They bring in Tank Bigsby this week, and how is he going to factor into this offense? I'm very curious to see that. I mean, obviously you have Saquon and all that he benches, and I think he and Jalen Hurts just like go back and forth, right? Like I think they're just like, let's
I
see
think
who can
Jalen had
bench
more
more.
rushing yards than Saquon. Is that right? Maybe in that last game. Yeah, he was like, I think it was about like 2, but that's impressive. Like, you're not having
Yeah.
more rushing yards than your running back. You had more rushing yards than Saquon. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
impressive.
It totally is, and I think he was just giving him what he was just taking what the defense was giving him, and he just seemed so comfortable and confident out there. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a huge year this year, and he's had a chip on his shoulder for so long, and you just listen to him. It's like there's so many Jalenisms, right? Like I don't know what else to call them, maybe, but they're so good. I mean, they're to the point where I'm like, can I just like poster note, like stick a post-it up to use this one? Like they're really, really good. And I think the Eagles will find a way to go into Arrowhead and win this one late Sunday afternoon. All right, one more for you. The Sunday night game between the Atlanta Falcons, the Vikings home opener, back-to-back primetime games for JJ McCarthy as he starts his NFL career. I mean, man, that game Monday night, uh, he looked awful for so much of that game. And then for him to like rein it in, pull it together, for Kevin O'Connell to have that faith in his quarterback that he was going to be able to go out there and do what he did. I give him a ton of credit for the way that he rallied this team and went out there and delivered, and showed him, himself and his teammates that he could play at this level and find a way to earn a comeback win against the Chicago Bears. Home opener, Atlanta obviously lost in dagger type fashion with the missed kick. I'll take Minnesota in this one, AB.
I got to go Minnesota too. That comeback was incredible. So many people were writing JJ off in that first half, but that shows you that he's a championship caliber quarterback, right? And
Yeah.
can be. And also when you pair him with a coaching staff like that, it's going to help you out so much. They looked awesome, and JJ was the big unknown. They didn't know how he was going to fit with this team, how he was going to be, and you really did get a full breadth of that. You saw kind of the down, but you saw the plus side, right? And so I think I got to go with Minnesota for this one.
Yeah, I like the Vikings as well against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. All right, we'll see a familiar face who was once here in New England, but has found some different pastures to call home. That's not too far off. We'll explain as we continue right here on Foxborough Rush. Welcome back into Foxborough Rush. I said, some familiar faces finding new homes, AB, and we could see one of them this weekend. The Patriots could against the Miami Dolphins, and that's Cole Strange, who they signed off of the Cleveland's practice squad. Of course, he was cut earlier this season, former 29th overall pick back in 2022 out of UT Chattanooga. Surprise pick for many, and now finding a new home, maybe getting some intel there for Miami, but we'll see what this means in terms of playing time just a couple days from now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Miami's O line, especially on that right side, is really taking a beating just after week one. But, it's good for the Patriots physically. They know him. They know they spent the past summer with him. It's not good mentally, though. They have the advantage. The Dolphins do. Definitely going to be some secrets being told and whatever they can get out of him to help them against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, we also saw Jabril Peppers, who was cut by the team here. He has signed a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that means he'll see the Patriots again coming up soon, as well as they get set for their tilt to get them against the Steelers. Got a week. I mean, you got to get through Miami first, but this is to be expected, right? I mean, we knew he was going to catch on somewhere, and the Steelers obviously have a need at that position.
They do, and they're gonna be super excited about this player. Former captain for the Patriots. He's tough. He's a great tackler. He's gonna fit in really well. And you pay TJ Watt all that money, like you want to bring in the guys to help him around. Like you extend his contract. This is a former first round pick. You're adding a veteran to the room. This is exactly what the Steelers are excited to have.
Yeah. So we'll see, Jabril Peppers coming up as the Steelers and the Patriots tango in a week or so. And then Kendrick Bourne signs with the 49ers. Obviously, Juwan Jennings dealing with an injury there. So Bourne added to the 49ers equation. They've got some significant injuries. George Kittle, obviously, with the hamstring injury. Don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be able to play this week. He's dealing with a couple injuries as well. But hey, Kendrick Bourne also with a little bit of a reunion because, Mac Jones is out there in San Francisco.
Yeah, look at that. This is a team that I think people were eyeing for him immediately after he left the Patriots. Shanahan said earlier this week that they love this guy, and they actually tried to get him earlier, but it just didn't work out. So we'll see. We know he's going to bring the energy in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it'll be, as you said, it was not a surprise to see him sign with the 49ers. It's not a surprise to certainly see Peppers in Pittsburgh as well. These are guys who made contributions here in New England, and they're going to catch on somewhere. And we'll see what it all means for each of them as players, and then what it means for the Patriots when they have to go up against some of these guys potentially as well. All right, that is it for us today, but much more Foxborough Rush comes your way Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, take it easy. Have fun with Thursday Night Football.